Self-evidence, self-esteem? Fluid. This is how one describes the concept of self-evidence. A term that certainly seems worthy of closer examination. One property of self-evidence is its fluid nature. Its existence in counterpoint. What is a self-evidence for one person is the physical and psychological end of another. A striking lack of any norm. Really? Completely personal. Is it possible to somehow pin down self-evidence? It turns out that at first glance, it appears completely subjective, individualistic, and private. What I mean is that nothing is self-evident per se, everything always depends on our own, inner decision. A but stands in the way. Society's power hierarchies have hijacked, kidnapped, and occupied our self-evident. There is no normal. A true, genuine, honest self-evident can no longer exist in this society, by the very definition of the matter. The social structure itself stands in the way. Self-evident, that is closely related to the normal of our language and, for the same reasons, originally non-existent. We are nevertheless now in a position, by partitioning, to at least declare that, roughly speaking, there must be two self-evidents, one very personal, the other that of social consensus. Concept of self-worth? Which leads us to the unavoidable question of whether such a personal, individual, intimate according to expectations, corresponding to expectations even, still, exists. Considering the pervasive hierarchy of knowledge and power in the construction of society, can such a private self-understanding still exist? A self-esteem? The trend is certainly negative. It demonstrates, spanning millennia, the suppression of precisely this freedom. Suppressed. This pressure on the intimate self-understanding takes place on many levels. And one can certainly postulate that this is the depression of society. For, given the structure of our lived worldview, there can no longer be any talk of free will, however fundamental, in the description of a self-understanding. We define ourselves within limitations. Every supposed self-understanding is imposed in the background. External self-evidence keeps us blind. A personal self-evidence presupposes free will, and we don't have much of that. Our task in existence is to find the true, the real self-evidence, beyond the regulations, algorithms, and laws of the physical world. For here we disappear, increasingly suffocating under the threads that pull the, yet only supposed, self-evidences in our lives. Like sturdy reinforced concrete posts on the right and left of the path of existence, so close together that no way through. Complete power. Can this externally constructed self-evidence, not surprisingly, as expected, which will always be that of foreign powers, influence us so decisively in our will to live? Honest, profound self-reflection reveals the darkest depths. Precious little of ourselves remains. On the one hand, the self-evidences are given in the nature we observe, perceive, and interpret. On the other, they arise from the logic of society. No intimate self-evident left. What intimate, private self-understanding remains? So, it's quite obvious that we need to rediscover our own, as usual, logically. A true, honest, real self-understanding that isn't defined by supposed good and evil. Our external world, as we've discovered, is taken over by externally determined normalities, meaning the self-understanding of consumer behavior, for example. The true self-understanding can only lie at the bottom of our hearts, within us. The times of the wave. The path, the way, that is being proclaimed by all sorts of religious communities, especially in our high-vibrational times, essentially the basic idea of Buddhism, is the transcendence of our attachments. A seemingly unattainable undertaking. Yet, how utterly brilliant, heartbreakingly beautiful, the tender dynamic of creation that truly exists behind everything. Because if we only internalize that our only self-understanding is the love is, will all other, only alleged or misinterpreted, self-understandings actually bow before our spirit. Conclusion. The absolute self-understanding is love. Whoever accepts this for themselves, internalizes it, spiritualizes it, whoever lives this, is no longer bound by earthly bonds. They are truly eternally blessed. A Buddha. A bodhisattva whose sole endeavor is to proclaim and teach this truth. An enlightened being who has understood the soul, absolute, dynamic of creative love. It would be so simple,